What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Imperfect, and I got an awesome guest. Again, we are doing all of these podcasts remotely due to the current situation. I'm super excited to have this guest on the show. We have Andrea Urban on the show. How are you doing?
Good, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, relaxed, life in quarantine. How about yourself?
Yeah, it's an interesting time for sure. I try to set some sort of schedule to my day, so I don't feel like I'm in quarantine. But I'm not gonna lie. Once quarantine originally started, I was sleeping in, rolling up,
Yeah.
and I can proudly say that I've gotten better at essentially like utilizing my day during this time.
Right, yeah. That's like the biggest thing is you just fall into that habit. It's like, oh, work from home, huh?
Yeah,
It's
I'm
like a dream
someone
come
who's like
true.
always on the go. I'm always at a different practice, sometimes like four different practices in one day or whatever it is. It's just like it's very weird for everything to just be like a halt.
Right.
It's weird, but this is our new reality now, and Skype and Zoom and FaceTime is becoming the norm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I know that you're a reporter and an anchor. So are you working all from home now or
Yeah, so it's a balance. So Monday through Friday, because I am, one of the youngest at Fox 13 here in Salt Lake City, I'm not the main anchor. So I work from home Monday through Friday doing reporting, getting stories, doing interviews with players on Skype, editing stuff, just kind of being that behind the scenes kind of guy. And then on Saturdays and Sundays, our staff is very small on the weekends. Even when there isn't a quarantine, the weekend staff is always just a smaller crew. It's not Monday through Friday. And so I'm actually able to go into the station Saturday and Sunday, but we have 6 feet apart rule. We have tape.
oh
We've got
man.
Lysol wipes. We've got, I mean, there's hand sanitizer on every corner. Like it's not necessarily like a good time. Like we are all working really hard and we do social distancing. So if I do host, we have our half-hour sports show on Sunday nights. And if I do host that with my uh, boss, essentially, my sports director, he will sit at the news desk over here and I will sit at like a monitor over here and we will be on
Wow.
the opposite side of the studio hosting the same show together, but just like in two different screens. So me going to work on the weekends is like me getting out of the house. And
Right.
and it's weird how going into work has become almost like a refreshing thing because you get to go somewhere else other than my apartment.
Yeah. That's like one thing you don't really think about, but it's like, you see the news every day and you don't think people have to get there and report the news, you
Oh
know?
yeah, yeah. And we've got our main anchors who do go there and our management and our executive producers, they do go there. But whether they do it from their living room. And my
Wow.
sports director, who's the main anchor during the week, he does it from his basement like man cave area. And he's got like some sports memorabilia set up and he does it from there. Like we actually have the ability to go live on our phones. And
Right.
it's an app that we can put in a code which connects it to Fox 13 and then we can set it up and essentially give you the live shot that we need from our cell phones, which saves us from divvying out cameras to everybody. And I
Right.
mean, there's ways to make it work. Does it look the best? No, but ways to make it work. And I have yet to do it because I'm, that content creator kind of during the week, but it's possible. And it's the new norm. Like I said, it's weird.
Yeah, it is weird. It's very weird like interviewing people in person and then going onto this online platform. It's just like
Yeah.
doesn't feel normal, It feels a little weird.
Yeah, it's that's the thing though, is like, at least for me, like I've interviewed several athletes. Like I actually got to talk to Jordan Love. He's declaring for the NFL draft, or probably going to go in the first round, third quarterback overall. Really, that's what they're projecting him to be. He's just a star from Utah State. And I got to do a Skype interview with him and he was like, oh yeah, since all the workouts were canceled after the combine because of COVID. So I didn't work out with a single team. I didn't meet with a single team. I've done every single team interview with trainers, with GMs, with coaches, all via Skype and FaceTime. And he's like, and they're sending like cameras here on draft day to get video of me and my family in my house because we're doing a virtual NFL draft. So it's truly is like, this is how we're doing it now, that the fact that like these guys are being drafted via like a cell phone essentially.
That's so crazy. So you do mention that you're doing sports. I know you're doing these sports interviews, but since you're a sports reporter, what are you reporting on since there's no sports anymore?
Yeah, that's weird. Trust me, when when they announced that the NBA came to a halt, because I work with Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert on a regular basis, weekly, daily sometimes. It was really crazy because the Jazz immediately sent out an email to all of the media that work with Rudy, and they were like, if you were with Rudy from this day, March 9th, and later, we will pay for your COVID-19 test. And I was like, I was with him on February 28th. So I wrote them and they basically were like, that's not, because that's like, it was 12 days from when he got diagnosed. So it wasn't, and I felt fine, but I still tried and didn't end up getting that. But that was a huge thing for a long time. For several weeks of sports reporting, we were talking about reactions. You know, BYU basketball was supposed to go very far in the tournament, and I was supposed to follow them through the tournament. They were a single seed and easily. And I was just so excited to spend my month of March on the road with BYU. And, you know, I am the reporter. I'm not even the player. And their season got cut and I was heartbroken.
Oh,
So
no.
a lot of, you know, hey man, you're a senior. What does this mean to you? If you could go back and do it again, would you? A lot of that kind of stuff. Now that the reactions have slowed down because this is our reality, I'm doing just a lot of NFL draft stuff because that's a weekish away, 10 days away. And like I'm trying to get local people involved. Like we actually do these things now on Fox 13 called highlights from home. So if you've got a cool video of you doing like a backflip on your trampoline in your backyard, or maybe a trick shot in your driveway, or throwing a football over your house or something. We are actually showcasing just like any old 10-year-old around the Salt Lake City area, just doing cool stuff because we're trying to, I don't know, when else do you get to have that stuff on the news? So
Right.
that's been our new thing too, is after we do, you know, here's what Jordan Love has to say, here's what the head coach of BYU football has to say, then we'll be like, oh, and here are your highlights from home. Check out Bobby. Check out, you know, and it's
That's
just
awesome.
like, yeah. So that's been really fun too, is showcasing the local people, and they've been loving it, and it's been quite the response. Like we are really struggling to keep track of all the videos that are coming in.
Wow.
Because people are loving it. So that's another way to kind of be creative, is just give the local community a little bit of love.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet with people being home, they come up. I've already seen tons of, you know, those videos where you knock down the dominoes and they do it throughout the whole house. Like just people doing all sorts of creative stuff stuck at home.
Oh yeah, and we've got some of these were kind of just like, it was crazy. There's this one brother and sister who like created their own NCAA bracket, and the brother represented one, the sister represented the other, and like they played each other down to like a final championship game. And this was just down in like southern Utah, and they sent it to us, and I was kind of just like, wait, I'm extremely jealous. I'm not a part of this. Like,
I
this
know, right?
really fun. So it's cool. People are having a good time, but it definitely feels dead. I live downtown Salt Lake City. I can see the tall buildings right in front of me, and the streets are empty.
That's crazy.
I mean empty. And it's almost eerie, but now it's become the norm. So I'm over it. But for the first couple of weeks of it, I was just like, this is really happening. And then I lived through an earthquake. Salt Lake City had an earthquake.
I know.
I woke up, it was 7:15 in the morning, and I just held onto my bed and like, I just rode the ride. I'm like, woo! Like, things fell off my walls. It was a big earthquake because the Wasatch Front is right here. And I looked outside and people were in the streets, and I'm like, what is going? Someone took it upon themselves to run up and down our hallway at the apartment complex here, like, evacuate. And I'm like,
wait, what?
I was like, sir. He literally, I opened my door and I was like, what are you, like, I like looked at him, I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, you take the 6th floor, I got the 5th floor. And I'm like, I'm not taking no floors.
I'm staying here.
I'm not leaving. This building is new. It was built in like 2015 or 16. And like, older buildings. I mean, older buildings that have been here for years, they've lost like a couple bricks. But other than that, you know, we lost the power, but no buildings collapsed. And I was like, sir, if anything, going out in the streets is probably sketchier and scarier because bricks could fall on you versus just staying in your apartment. I don't know. It's just funny how people take responsibility. Yeah.
It's like, don't you remember grade school? They literally tell you, get in your bathtub under a desk. Like,
duck and cover, dude.
Yeah.
So that was funny. That was interesting. And I was just like, what is, you know, we're all being really tested right now. And I don't know if this is just like, we're all part of history right now.
Mm-hmm. We really are.
This is going to be in the history books. And the craziest thing about it is like, everything shut down after an NBA player. Now, Vivint Arena is one block that way for me. Like an NBA player who I work directly with on a regular basis shut down the entire NBA and all sports. And I remember just being like, this affects me directly. This affects me. You know, a lot of people, it's easy for them to work from home, but like my job is truly going out and, you know, being close and personal with like coaches and shoving microphones in their faces. And we all stand in like a scrum is what it's called when all the media like circle around one coach. Like, that is not social distancing at all. And I was just about to start. I was at the first day of spring football for BYU, first day of spring football for Utah State. I was loving it. I was like, oh my gosh, we got football back. We got March Madness. And then all of a sudden just you're put on a halt and it's just kind of like, now what? Like, so it's been interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. It people don't think about like these seniors that are graduating from college that really want to go to the NBA or go full time, and it's sad to see that all of these people got their seasons cut in half. You know, you're supposed to, especially towards the end, you're really supposed to shell out and show what you got to all of these people that are going out and recruiting people. You know,
Venice is literally the most wonderful time of the year. Like, constant basketball 24/7. It allows 14 seeds to beat 1 seeds. Like, those upsets we live for. And yeah, does it break brackets? Sure. But that's what we live for. On it, like, is the real true college basketball competition that these guys have been working for. But like I said, I mean, this is bigger than sports. But man, I wish we could still. I don't know.
I know it's a little crazy. It's like that's what you watch. That's what we consume is our sports, our media. I mean, the biggest thing for me is me and my fiance watch a ton of movies, a ton of shows. We go to the movies 3 times a week with the AMC Stubs Pass, all those types of things. And then when that stops, we're like, okay, plenty of TV shows. We have burnt through TV shows. And on top of that, you just hear, especially when it first happened, that you know shows like Riverdale and all these movies were shutting down. They're stopping halt, like da-da-da-da-da. So let alone, like I feel like when all this does get back to normal, there's going to be like this year or 6 months that we're not going to get any fresh movies or shows that were in production, you know?
Oh, 100%. I mean, even like, I mean, this is The Bachelor was just recording and they stopped all recording too. And like, normally you're kind of secluded and you're just in this world of falling in love. And it's just like, okay, well, we're putting it on a stop. And now it's just like, okay, so now all my candidates go home and like, can I talk to them? It's
yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it's a weird, I don't know. I just try not to think about it too much.
Yeah, it's a little scary.
I drive myself crazy.
Yeah, for real. I keep seeing that ad for the Bachelor. It's like the musicians one. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah,
isn't that so? Do you like that kind of stuff?
I mean, that one was taped. That one was taped before all this happened. I like reality TV show just because it's nice to be like, ha, that's not my life. Like that's right? Literally why I watch it is not even for like the, oh my God, he loves her. It's like the, oh, thank God this isn't me. Like that.
I know. Yeah, me and my fiance have a similar viewpoint. It's like you watch it and it's like we were watching that trailer and it's like so hard. It's so hard to write a love song when you're not in love, and me and her look at each other like, that's stupid. This show's ridiculous. We're like, we're gonna binge it.
Did you watch Love Is Blind on Netflix?
Yep.
Yeah, I watched that one. I definitely was, that one was interesting
It was different.
because I can't, I don't know. I don't know. Not that I care that much about looks, but I'm like a very, very, very tall lady. I'm 6'1". So I always am kind of like, height has always just been like kind of like a big thing for me because I'm so tall. And if I was in this pod and I got matched up with like, you know, shorter than me guy, which is very much easy to do. And then we walk out, and then I'm just like, and he's like, and then we run at each other, and it's like, oh, like I couldn't even. So I remember watching the show and being like, I don't know if I could do this
I
show.
don't know. It could be different. Not to get too personal, but have you ever dated someone shorter than you? Is it weird?
I actually, I,
Really?
I haven't. I've hung out, I've gone on dates, but I've never like claimed this is my boyfriend, a man who's shorter than me. And that doesn't mean that it couldn't happen. It's just I've been extremely tall my whole life. Yeah, ever since I was in 5th grade, I was like 5'2", and like that's what people are as adults. And I was in
Yeah.
5th grade and I was 5'2". Like
Wow.
by a freshman in high school, I was 5'11". Like I've just never stopped. So in my like heart and soul, I was like, when I get married, I want to tiptoe to kiss my husband. And it
Oh
was
no.
just like, it was like this mindset that I set. And I think it's kind of stuck with me. And that doesn't mean that I can't be changed, but it's just one of those things.
Yeah. It is just one of those things. It
It's
just
just
feels natural.
yeah, and I've gotten, oh, you're selfish, and oh, you're not giving them a chance. No. I will never be like, oh, I'm not going to talk to you. Like I will talk to you, but if I'm in a bar, if I'm in a building, at an event, at a sporting event, and a tall man walks in, he immediately has my interest. Now it's just, can he talk? Is he cool? But if he's tall, you're already winning.
You're already winning. So that's like half the basketball team then, right?
It's like my DMs blow up. Yeah, but I don't. I actually really truly pride myself on not associating myself with any uh, people
Work.
that I work with. Yeah, it's a. I am the only female sports reporter in the city of Salt Lake, and it's a lot of eyes, and it's a lot of DMs, and it's a lot of, you know, I've worked too hard to build the reputation that I have to get to go from Pocatello, Idaho to Salt Lake City, which
Mm-hmm.
a very big market jump actually. 130 television markets is the sizes. So
Wow.
Pocatello's market 164 and Salt Lake City's market 31. So
Wow.
I jumped higher than Jordan. And then when you do something like that, it's you don't want to ruin it over a crush on a team. And I've really actually gotten to the point where I don't look at these guys anymore and go, oh, he's cute. I look at them as like almost something that I study. Like,
Yeah.
okay, this is how many points he had, this is what he's averaging, but what has he been doing differently that's been making the team lose? Like when I talk to them, I don't see, oh, this key's taller than me. I totally see it as, what did you do today that messed everything up? Or what did you do today that it made everything better? Like it's completely changed. When I first got in the field, or when I was an intern back in the day, I was like, whoa, this is so cool. There's a coach,
Right.
big linebacker. And now I'm like, okay, this linebacker doesn't have that much size on him. Like,
You're ripping them apart.
yeah, like he's not gonna be like great on, and that's where I am now. So yeah, height, but I do not mix the business and personal.
Right. I know. So I know that's kind of how you've been looking at the world, kind of how to keep your like life professional and things like that. But aside from that, being on the receiving end, you are naturally you are gorgeous. You are a reporter.
Yeah.
You are going out there all the time. What is it? Do you get a lot of that, especially during work? I can only imagine.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. It's weird. No, it's not, because I get it. But I pride myself on doing it in a conservative and sexy way at the same time, not to like toot my own horn. Like you can tell which females are there for the wrong
Right.
reasons. Like it
Right.
is very clear when a female is in the locker room and she's
Oh yeah.
kind of like strutting her stuff when we're in like a locker room and the Jazz players are like getting showered and like getting dressed and they're right behind us getting dressed. And I do not turn around. I do not look around because the last thing I need, and even back at Idaho State when I was on the sideline, when I would walk the sideline, because during football I shoot video. I'm not just the person who talks. I shoot video, I edit video, I write video, I produce, I put it all together, and then I get on television and talk about it. So everything's mine. And I pride myself in putting out good work. And when I would walk that football sideline, of course, there's things being said, oh, get out of her way, or they step in front of me and go, what's up, girl? Like it's both. And what I do is I look straight and I just walk. I don't look around. I don't smile. I literally look straight and I just walk because no one can say, oh, that Andrea girl, yeah, she's on the sideline checking out all the dudes, because boom, you lose your reputability. Like it's Jazz locker room. Oh, Andrea, she's in the locker room. She's looking around at all the guys when they're changing. No. So I always make sure to look good, but not too good, and keep my stuff in a line. Like it's just not worth it to me because again, one thing, I can lose everything that I've worked for because they're not going to believe me. They're going to believe Donovan Mitchell. They're going to believe Rudy Gobert. They're going to believe, oh, she looks at me all the time. They're going to believe those guys. So I just give them, and that goes for college especially too, because college boys have a little bit more of like a confidence. You know, I don't know. It's because, they're in school. It's funny how the college boys always have something to say too. And sometimes it's really cool. Sometimes it's like, oh, dude, I like your shoes. Like, those are cool shoes. And then it's like, oh, thanks, man. And we can chit chat. But oftentimes it's, hey, what's up, girl? How you doing? Like, let me cut you off. And then if I get cut off, I will like stop and I will just go, like, because I'm not going to let you feel any more special. If I get to talk to you after the game, let's talk after the game. But you don't get to say, oh, dude, I cut off Andrea and she smiled or she.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's that weird dichotomy. I definitely, think I ask you that because let alone have we been in the same place, Idaho State, and on that same court, I used to show up and I still do. I work for marketing on Idaho State campus, and I'd go there and get a lot of footage. And I feel like when I'm out there, nobody gives a damn. Like I'm just out there doing my thing. But then when I see you pull up, because we had a cross time, and I just see so many people are just like over there. They're trying to talk to you. They're looking at you, and I'm just like,
It's so
the hell?
weird. It's so weird. It took me a long time I called my mentor. She's a sports reporter in St. Louis. And I was like, dude, how do you deal with this much attention? Like that was what it was, is whether we want it or not, I have a camera, a giant camera. So even if I looked good or not, it's the camera thing. People see that and they go, okay, TV, I can be on TV. Then it's like, okay, wait, it's this girl. That's cool too. Like, I wonder who she is. And then everybody wants to be seen or maybe like, talking to the TV person. So they always work their way over to me. And I do try to make sure I say hello to certain people. Like if there's any head coaches or the athletic director or so on, I try to always, say what's up to everybody. But it's something I had to get used to. I remember walking into Highland High School and for a basketball game, and their student section would go, Andrea, Andrea, Andrea.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I was just like, I don't know what to do. Like I've never had a group of children chant my name. And of course, some of them are like, we love you. And I'm just like, I don't know how to be, and I just kind of give a little wave, and I always try to give them love. Like I'll take a video of them and then I'll tweet it and be like, Highland student section showing me love, and they're just going like, it's funny, and I was told like on a signing day at like Century High School, I was running late to this signing day, and like one of the students was like, "We can't start yet. Andrea's not here," and it's just like that's awesome. Like I live for that
Yeah.
stuff because I also want to believe that they like me for me too,
Yeah.
because I have worked hard on. I have this like natural skill of just kind of befriending anyone because I can just talk and I listen and I want to tell your story. And if I do a good job, then that gives me this like Jordan Love didn't do interviews with any of the media here in Salt Lake City, but he was like, I'll do an interview with you. You were always cool when we talked. And that kind of stuff is what I pride myself on. So yeah, it's like, oh, Andrea, she's so cool because, you know, she's on TV and she's her. But I also hope that it's because I make them feel, you know, some type of way, I guess.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that's a good reporter is like you can be there, you can be professional, you can ask the questions, you can know how to handle a camera, but being personable, being able to ask the right questions and navigate people through conversation, I feel like is a really important thing, you know?
Yeah, and just dealing with the attention is it's gone down because I'm in a bigger city now, but it's still I'm the only female, so people will like, although they don't know who Andrea Urban is yet, they will um they will be like, "Oh, you're the girl from Fox 13." Like, I'll get that.
Mm,
And that's fine too. Like I'm okay to be the token girl for now because they'll know my name in a little bit. But it's still attention, but I like it's interesting because even back in college, like I always knew in my heart, like I'm gonna do this. Like this is what
yeah.
I'm gonna be. So even when I was in college, you know, partying or going out and living it up and tailgating in Michigan State and frats and sorority, I still always kind of prided myself on like holding myself as just like a strong female because I was like, I don't want anything that I do now to follow me later because I know in my heart and soul I'm going to do this. And that's called disposition. When you have a good disposition of yourself, that's how you see yourself. And that
Right.
could be, it's not even cocky. It's where you see yourself. So I remember when I got that an internship with a local TV station at 19 years old, I was like, okay, I'm representing Channel 6 in Lansing, Michigan now. I better not screw this. I don't want to screw this up for them or for me. And that's when I started to, you know, just, I mean, I always have, but just carry myself differently. And then it's only just followed through now in my professional career.
No, and I love that. I feel like being confident, you know, a lot of people take cockiness as confident or confidence as cockiness. And I hate to see that because it's like you got to be confident to do what you're doing. You got to love what you got to do. You got to give off good energy all the time. You got to let people know like this is what you want to do. You know,
Oh,
and people always I feel like sometimes like people will all like kind of go to the you know like oh like that's cool and it kind of like they want to assert some kind of like okay like you're gonna be something cool like they don't like want to automatically just like give faith like get like you got this you know so it's like you have to like present yourself you know it's not like oh like hey I have a podcast like would you like to join it's like hey you know I have a podcast I'm really trying to blow up right now I really want to learn from human beings like but like you have to give confidence so people know that you're serious you're real and that they can believe in you you know.
yes, 100%. And that's exactly how this job works is why do I want to talk to you if you don't even know who you are? And
Right.
that's huge. Like I don't get nervous anymore, but when, you know, big time people say yes to talk to me, then I'm kind of like, well, shit, like what should I be like? What like, it's sometimes I get in my head, but um, I would say like 90% of the time I'm just like, all right, let's do this. Like because again, that's what's gonna make you win. Actually, and I appreciate him so much. George Niang, he's a six-man bench player, but like you know can knock down the three for the Utah Jazz. He's a good guy. He's a roster spot Utah Jazz player. And the other or before COVID, I was walking out of the Utah Jazz Arena, and George and I have actually gotten really cool because back when I was in Pocatello, the junior Jazz basketball camp came to Pocatello, Idaho, and a year ago, George Niang was the summer league trying to get a roster spot on the Jazz. So he was the token Jazz player to go on this junior Jazz basketball camp trip.
Wow.
And he was in Pocatello when I was in Pocatello. And I remember calling my boss and being like, oh my God, there's a Jazz guy in Pocatello. Like, I got to go talk to him. And I went over to Pocatello High School and I interviewed George Niang before he got any minutes for the Jazz. And then I got the job in Salt Lake City. And I was at media day for the Utah Jazz, and George was like, Pocatello, what's up, bro? And I'm like, oh my God, dude, how's it going? And he goes, what are you doing here? Like, how did Idaho send you down here? And I was like, they didn't. I actually I got a job in Salt Lake City, and we chatted for a little bit. But recently, before COVID-19, mind you, now it's been through most of the season, my first season covering the Jazz. We were like walking out to the cars because I get to park in like the back of the arena because I'm the TV station, which is super cool. And we're walking out to our cars, and George is like, you know what, Andrea, like you're doing a really good job, and like we notice. And he's like, it's we can notice which girls or females are getting it done and which females are just here because it looks cool. And he's like, and you're doing a good job. And I remember just being like,
that's awesome.
Like that is what we call a journalism boner.
No, journalism boner. Let's go. That's exciting. That's exciting.
And then recently too, before the season ended, I was interviewing Timmy Allen. He's a sophomore, one of the top scorers of the Pac-12 at the University of Utah. Just this, he's a sophomore, hates interviews. He's like, I just want to play ball, and we did this interview together. And when the interview was done, he looked at me and he goes, that was a dope interview. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is a journalism boner.
That's awesome.
Those things when organically someone goes, hey, I really liked that. Or, hey, you did a good job. That's all I want. That's all I want is for the people that I work with and the people who do interviews with me. And I want them to, after I'm done talking to them, to kind of go, that was kind of cool. I want it to be different because most of the men or most of the journalists who are sticking microphones in these people's faces are white middle-aged men who ask the classic, points per game, just type of questions. And I'm over here and this goes back to your whole podcast and why you want to get to know what I do. I'm over here okay, Timmy, you're this star player. You ball out every game. You lead the Pac-12 in scoring. But what makes you you? And I started paying attention to Timmy, and I noticed that on every single time on his shoes, he wrote mom. Every single shoe, no matter if he changed the pair, there was always mom on his shoe. So during our interview, I was like, all right, I got to ask. You have mom written on every single one of your shoes. And he's like, yeah, I do. He kind of was like, oh. And I said, can I ask you about her? What is that? And then he started telling me, she died of cancer. And I don't play this sport for myself anymore. I play every single game for her. And boom, there's a story. And then you say, okay, well, can I ask you more about her? Will you tell me about her? And then he gets to decide, yeah, okay, I'm down to tell you about her. And then we start diving into it. And now I've got a story that no one else has because guess what? Nobody asked about that. Everybody else has been asking him about his points per game. And everybody else has been asking, about, his team chemistry. And I'm over here well, Timmy, what the hell makes you you? And that is where is why I do what I do. And I joke and say journalism boner because it's just a silly thing, but it's something that I strive for, is making marks through journalism.
Heck yeah. Yeah. I appreciate that. That's incredible. And I absolutely love that you're doing this because I feel like there's people who kind of go for the easy media nowadays. And I feel like a lot of people are kind of fed up, just when you follow an organization or whatever, that it's the same kind of dead news. It's just easy news to just show up, get your little, the questions you can ask any person, but you shouldn't be able to ask the same question to every person. You should make it unique, not like you said, what was your your score or whatever, but it's why are you? Why are you getting this score? Why are you fighting so hard? Why are you trying to be the best you?
Yeah. Why? I mean, why am I in this? Why did I get into this job? It's because I didn't want to talk about politics. I didn't want to talk about potholes. I didn't want to talk about, a murder scene. I wanted to talk about, BYU being ranked for the first time since 2011 because because of the team that they have. Like, that is so much more fun for me. And before my sports internship back in college, I did a job shadow, which led to the sports internship. And I job shadowed the main news anchor. And she was like, okay, tonight we're going to talk about this homicide and blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, this isn't what I want to talk about, Sherry. Like,
Yeah, that's pretty heavy.
And she was like, well, what do you want to talk about? And my dad was a baseball coach and my brother was the baseball player. And I did get to be around it, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, yeah, I was running routes with my brother into the backyard. Like, it's not that picture perfect, but I knew that it wasn't going to be news. And I knew that I loved what made sports, not even necessarily the wins and losses, but the people. And that is why I chose sports. So again, yeah, I try to make my questions. You do have to ask game questions, most of the time. But if I get that one-on-one interview with you, I am not going to use that time to ask you about your points or your yards per, just your yardage. It's not going to be my questions.
Go to. Yeah. It's interesting. Like I went to a TED Talk a while ago, and they were talking about how when big disasters happen, maybe it may have been shootings, it may have been earthquakes, or may have been something that really shattered the community, and how that community sports, and he listed off dozens and dozens of sports teams that when they went through like some kind of disaster or something that affected the community, how they went to win that year. And he gave examples like all the way back to like the 70s and 80s. And it made me think how powerful sports can actually be, and how these humans, like, it is a game where, you have to practice for, you have to do everything for, you have to get in there and you have to win. But I feel like people that really love sports is because there's this natural element that all of these individual people that have individual lives are getting together for this thing. And so when you're talking about, getting in there and getting to know the why. Every single person has this why, and I appreciate that because you never get to hear it. Like you said, the cameras are on them during the game. The cameras are on them asking about that game, but it's like, why are you in that game,
why are you here? Why are you putting yourself on this pedestal too? Like this isn't, being in college sports isn't easy. You got to balance school. You got to be with this team 24/7. Media is asking you questions about your team chemistry. You had a really great game this game. Now you're shooting terrible. Why? And he's like, I don't know. I'm just trying to play. Like that's why when I sit down with someone, I kind of want to almost take their mind off of the game. I don't know. I don't know. That's why my goal is to, after local news, kind of narrow my niche to a certain league or a certain team or just because I want to be able to do those more feature-y personal stories. And I think when you're in the news, you've got to talk about, this game and that game, and tonight they're going to face this team. And because that's what you're doing in the news. You're updating people on what's to come and what's coming and what's not coming. And I'd also want, I feel like it does take a back seat, the why. And what you did say about sports meaning so much. I mean, right now, there's no sports. And how many of us, sports fans or not, are kind of just like, damn, I wish there was something for me to turn on my TV. And like, I like sports, but I don't want to watch a rerun.
Right.
Watch a rerun.
Nobody wants that. You got to watch it live when it's happening,
Oh, I want that buzzer beater that changes the entire vibe of the tournament or the entire flow of the season. Like, after this game, our whole team got better. I want that. I don't want back in 1997.
These old games. Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
So with your reporting in your school, with your reporting and your anchoring and all these things, did you have any kind of formal training for journalism? Like college?
Yeah. But it is also what you make it, 100%. Like, I'm so grateful I got to go to Michigan State. Big Ten, they're going to do things right. At Michigan State on campus, we have a studio that looks like what I go to now, or essentially maybe like more Idaho, like just a smaller, it looks like a real studio. And so we did have like the chance to like do teleprompter reads and like get a sense of it, but you're still going to class and, you know, learning the correct way to write and all that good stuff. But if it wasn't for my journalism class making it a requirement my sophomore year to job shadow, then because I had to do the job shadow and write a paper on the job shadow then led to an internship, which it could have not, but it did. And that internship led to me working with a sports department in Lansing, Michigan, at the top TV station in Lansing, Michigan. Market 116. It's small compared to Salt Lake City and Chicago and whatever, but they were the best in that area and they liked me. And after I did 2 semesters for school credit, and then after I ran out of school credit, because you can't keep doing internships for school credit, they created a part-time position for me to keep me on because
Wow.
like, yeah, I know. I was like, you got the right person.
That's awesome.
I was like, are you guys sure you want to do this? And Fred was his name, and my sports director in Michigan. Fred changed my whole perspective on all of this. And I fell in love with sports journalism. I didn't think I was going to do this forever. I was just like, this is a really cool job. And I started to get really dang good at it. And here's the craziest thing. So college, I think you need to go to college because college just makes you who you are. The reason why I'm so obsessed with Michigan State, why I preach Michigan State and Michigan State is because I found who I was at Michigan State. I joined a sorority. I joined the volleyball team. I left the volleyball team. I left the sorority. I joined a club. I really did it all, and it allowed me to, I switched my major. I wasn't journalism to start. And it's just, you figure it out. And that's why I think you should go to college, is just figuring out who you are. It doesn't necessarily need to be about career. I think it's more about finding yourself. And then along that, I happened to just fall into the career. And I think it also helps that Michigan State, during my time of 2012 to 2016, there was Final Fours, Elite Eights, college football playoffs, Rose Bowl wins, just so many amazing sports to be a part of. So when you're like interning for a local TV station in the sports department and they're like, hey, this Saturday, can you go to Spartan Stadium and shoot the, Michigan State, Michigan game, or Michigan State, Ohio State game? And you're like, oh, I get to just be on the sideline. Like, it's so cool. And then again, so while I'm interning at Michigan, or at this Channel 6 station, I meet another intern, and she's older than me. And she kind of leaves, then I kind of fill her spot. She ends up going to ESPN. And at 21, now so 19, I met her at 19, 20, then she leaves, and now I'm 21-ish. And she works for ESPN, and she's like, hey, my friend's a producer at the Little League World Series in Pennsylvania, and they need like another like staffer just to kind of like do the busy work. And I'm 21 years old. And she's like, if you can get out to Pennsylvania, ESPN will take you for the Little League World Series. So
wow.
I know. So at 21 years old, all because I interned at Channel 6 in Lansing, Michigan, and she went to Michigan State, she calls me, I get to go to the Little League World Series. So then I go to the Little League World Series, and I get paid more than I'm getting paid probably now, just to work like 2-3 weeks with ESPN as this behind the scenes girl. And I lived at the Holiday Inn for 3 weeks, and I actually used the hotel laundry. It was so crazy. And from working at the Little League World Series, the same producers on the Little League World Series do College Game Day. So while working with Little League World Series, they're like, well, what school do you go to? And I was like, oh, I go to Michigan State. And they're like, oh, we'll be at Michigan State this year. No question.
Wow.
And they were like, we'll call you when we come to Michigan State. We could always use you on staff. So that's next year. So I was a junior. And then that next year was my senior year. And I get back to school. And one of the first games of the season was Oregon versus Michigan State. And it was a very big matchup. And I get a call from the same producer from Little League World Series. And they're like, we can use you. We need you there at 5 a.m. at the College Game Day set. We'll get you your pass. You have your own golf cart, and it'll be your job to kind of just like run shit around, essentially. And my job title was runner, literally.
Really?
And I was like, okay, cool. I just want to be there. I just want to be on set. I got to meet Sam Ponder, got to meet Lee Corso, got to meet, all of them. And all I had to do was just help with the busy stuff, whether that be running scripts, printing stuff. That could be just like getting coffee. It could be whatever it was. And then through that, on a totally different staff. So the college game day staff in the morning is different than the staff that runs the actual game broadcast. But through that, they were like, well, do you want to work during the game? And I was like, sure. Mind you, I'm so tired. It was 5 a.m. They were like, well, Heather Cox needs a sideline assistant, which is a sideline reporter for ESPN. And I was like, okay. They were like, you'll just like follow her around, grab her jacket if she needs it, and you can take notes, you can ask her questions, you can learn from her, but like you just need to help her when she needs help. And I was like, okay. So after working college game day from 5 a.m. to noon, I went home and took a nap from like 1 to 2:30. And then I got to the game at 3, and I was paired with Heather at like 4:30. And then the game started at like 7, and then it was into the night. The game ended around, midnight. And I had this just hell of a day, all because I just put myself out there. So that's the thing is, I can get this 4-year degree of journalism at Michigan State, but I job shadowed, and then I asked, is there a place where do you guys have a spot for me? And then they create a spot for me, and then I meet this girl, and it leads to ESPN. And am I employed with ESPN? No, because she ended up being a behind the scenes girl with ESPN, which it's a blunt truth. It's easier to be a behind the scenes person than it is to be a talent. To be an on-air talent, you gotta work your way there. And started from the bottom. Now I'm here is essentially Pocatello to where I'm headed next, because out of college, I had 0 offers. And I actually got an offer to a TV station in Minnesota 6 months out of school, small market 150. So a little bit bigger than Pocatello, but not any much bigger. And I ended up losing that job because of a speeding ticket that was on my license, because you have to drive news vehicles.
Oh no.
And their car insurance like had a rule, like no speeding tickets over a certain speed in between these years. And they checked my license for 3 years, and it was 2 years and 10 months ago. And I had this speeding ticket. So I lost the job, and I was like, this is a sign. I need to get out of TV forever. And I was all like depressed and sad. And then a year and a half out of school, I applied to 50 stations across the nation.
Wow.
Yeah, 50. It's like acting. You just got to keep auditioning and auditioning. And I just kept sending in my reel, which you can look up on YouTube, Andrea Urban Sports Reporter Reel, and you'll see my one that got me into Idaho. I think maybe I deleted that one. And then I have this new one that got me into Salt Lake City from the content I got in Idaho. But a year and a half out of school, I'm feeling like I shouldn't be doing this. How do I go from the Little League World Series and college game day and all these things to not even getting like a startup job? And Pocatello or Idaho Falls emailed me, and they were like, we'll take you for 2 years full-time sports. And I said, we're moving 24 hours across the country. And I moved from East Lansing, Michigan, where I was at essentially this peak of my life of just everything that I could think of was happening for me, to Pocatello, Idaho, because for talent, you got to start somewhere, and you got to have a place to make your mistakes. And I made mistakes in Idaho, but guess what? Nobody knows about them because it happened in Idaho.
That's good.
And then I spent my 2 years in Idaho, and here's the thing. It is what you make it. So I convinced my boss in Idaho. I said, hey, send me down to a Jazz game. I'll go down there. I'll get exclusive content. Sportsline is what we're called. I said, well, represent us in Utah. It'll be great. He's like, well, we can't put you in a hotel because it's too expensive. It's too expensive. So I was like, okay, great. I'll do 2 hours there, 2 hours back, same day. I don't care. I'll do it. Well, at that one Jazz game working for Idaho is where I met Fox 13 Utah.
Wow.
And Fox 13 Utah was like, hey, who are you? Because at these Jazz games, it's all the same media all the time. Right. And then I pop up, and I'm just like so happy. And they're like, who are you? And I'm like, I'm a girl from Idaho, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm just here to just do this game. And they're like, well, what's your story? I was like, oh, like, the Jazz are on the playoff cusp and they're playing the Pistons, and like this game could affect the Pistons and the Jazz because they're both on that 8 cusp. And I just gave my little speech, and he was like, cool, what's your Twitter? And like kind of followed me on Twitter. And then months later, I get a call from Fox 13 and they're like, hey, we want to talk to you about a job. So
interesting.
Yeah. So did I think I was going to go from East Lansing to Pocatello? No. And did I think I was going to go from Pocatello to Salt Lake City? No. So you got to humble yourself. Like, a lot of people aren't willing to go small. Everyone just wants to be famous, and everyone just wants to be on TV, and you got to be willing to put your time in. Now, I loved my time in Idaho. I embraced it. I made it a big deal. And I think that's why Utah took me, was the fact that I was able to make high school sports as if they were the NFL. And I took passion in learning about the rivalry between Century and Pocatello. And I took passion in learning about, Shelley, Idaho, and the Russets and those things. And that is what got me to BYU, Utah, Jazz.
Right.
It is what you make it. So I could have been like, well, I was with ESPN, so why would I go to Idaho? No. You were with ESPN as just like this, like.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got on my soapbox there, but that's the journey. Is you just don't know. Just go, give it a shot. Where's it going to take you?
Yeah, you hit a note that I definitely want to bring up again. That is very, very important. Is you said, going from, people do want to skip so many things. They want to just make it big. They just want to make it famous. And I can't tell you, just as a college student, being around other college students, that people have this idea of themselves that they're too good for things. I've heard it numerous times. I will never work at McDonald's. Like, no, it's not going to be my thing, blah, blah, blah. It's good. Like, people have their things. They don't want to do something. That's fine, right? But, when you're doing this, all I think is like, I'm going to go to LA, straight to LA. And I'm like, okay, that's good. But like, what kind of prep work, going straight from here with no gigs, no shows behind your belt, and you want to go straight to LA to be an actor, you're going to end up working at McDonald's. Oh, nope, I'm going to go straight into acting, A-list movies. I'm like, but like that thing right there, I just hear it so much, especially with creative types. Like, I have to go there. I won't go to Boise. Why? No, not Boise. That place is lame. I'm going LA, I'm going to New York. I'm like, you realize Boise's bigger than Pocatello, though, right? That's a step up in most people's books.
Yeah.
And so to say that, I think is a really important point, is no matter where you go or what you do, it's not bad to go to a smaller market or to a smaller area, or even just a slightly bigger area. As long as you put the work in, make yourself that different person, make yourself noticeable, you will move up. It's never stepping back. If you're furthering your development of your career, your passion, your talent, it's never a step back. And I love that you said that about Pocatello.
Yeah, and here's the thing. At Pocatello, I was, like I said, I was able to make the mistakes, but I was also able to try some new things. Like, I was able to throw some cheesy jokes out there, and if they didn't land, or if someone was like, oh, she said this, we didn't like it, then I learn from that and I bring it here. And now I don't do those things in Salt Lake City, and I do the things that work for me in Salt Lake City. I remember my first day going on air in Salt Lake, and everyone's like, oh my God, are you nervous? Oh my God, you're going to be. And I was like, no, because I just did this every day in Idaho. And that's the other thing about small markets, is I got to do everything in Idaho because they need you to. And here in Salt Lake, they've got someone to produce. They've got someone to edit. They've got someone to shoot your video. But back then, I was able to try everything out and dip my feet in everything, which one makes me more sellable, essentially, or more, wantable, because I can do so many things. And it also gives you the process of, hey, I like this and I don't like this, and you learn. And if you just go straight to ESPN or straight to Salt Lake City, you're not going to know anything. And you're going to sit there and go, I do not belong in this dang room. And as you start to grow, now I sit on these meetings and I go, oh yeah, I belong here. And that all comes from my time in the potato state.
There you go, yo. I absolutely love that. Another thing you've been mentioning is, you hop to Michigan State, you hop to Idaho, you hop to Utah. It
Yep.
sounds like you're like a one-man band. You don't have we already know you don't have a spouse or anything like that. So like, what is it like trying to balance like your work life and your social life, moving to state to state?
Yeah. I'm super grateful for my natural ability to befriend anyone because that's been huge. I've been able to make friends easily just by kind of being myself. So the making friends part isn't really that tough. It is weird when every time you're like, oh, this is Andrea, she just moved here, she's new. And it's like, this is weird because I remember being back in Michigan and being like, I know you. And now
Yeah.
it's like, hi, I'm Andrea. And then it's even weirder too because now my introduction is, this is Andrea and she's on TV for Fox 13. And that's how people know me now. And I'm like, that's weird because people used to just know me as like Andrea from class. And
Right.
now I also have this title like weighing over me. And that makes dating a little bit weird too, because sometimes I get men who are extremely into it. And they're like, oh, she's on TV. I'm going to DVR it. I'm going to just, she's on TV. And it's like, okay. And then, or I get men who are like, well, how could she like me? Because she works with the jazz players and she works with all these amazing, tall, attractive dudes. So how could she like me? So then you get these insecure or you get like the extremely invested ones. And it's just like, there's never been a middle for me. And honestly, right now, like, it's not like I'm like not looking or it's not like I am looking. I just love what I do so much. And like I said, I truly believe that I can go somewhere with this. So if he comes along this ride,
Great.
then let's do it. But I'm not going to be staying in Salt Lake. Like that's not an insult to Salt Lake. This is just like Pocatello. This is a step. And Salt Lake is going to grow me. I mean, who knows? Maybe I become the main anchor of Salt Lake City and I end up staying here. But in my mentality right now, it's Pocatello, Salt Lake.
What's
Where
next?
can we go next? Yeah, Chicago or New York, or get out of local news and let's go to the NBA TV. Let's go to NFL Network. Let's go to a network. Let's go to Fox Sports 1. We don't know how that happens. But most network jobs, Fox Sports 1, ESPN, they want 5 years in a major market. A major market is top 50 or above. So I'm in 31. So I'm down to like spend some time here and build myself and make myself more reputable. But it's just, I don't know. It's just the climb and not getting in your head too much about personal life, because personal life will get there. And if the man really does love me, he's going to be like, hell yeah, keep going. Like, what's next? But that's the thing is, usually the female is following the man's job, like where he's going, and she's gonna. And I kind of am like roles reversed. It's like, well, hopefully you have a job that can take you anywhere because you got to come with me. So that's also a tricky part. Definitely like Saturday nights. I spend Saturday nights at, on the sideline at BYU basketball. Sometimes do I want to just go over to my friend's house and hang out? Sure. But I truly I just love what I do. And I'm one of the lucky people in this world who does get to do what they love for a living. That I try not to take that for granted. And my friends will still be there if they really actually care about me. Like my friends know now, okay, Andrea, so the game starts at 6. She'll be done around 8. You have to do the interviews. So maybe 9. Hey, want to meet us out at the bars at 11? So I will. Sometimes I'll get back from a game and then I'll go out to the bar. Like there's a way to make it work. It's just, are you willing to, and don't expect the classic 9 to 5. That's another thing too, is a lot of men are like, well, I get off of work at 5. Why aren't you off work? And it's like, well, I'm not going to be off of work until 11.
Right.
So now we have an issue here. So it's I'm not going to sit here and say it's impossible, because I have many friends who are in happy relationships, and I don't think I'm, undateable or whatever it is. You're just not going to hold me back.
Right. Yeah. You got to do your thing. You got to grind. And like you said, like, and even if you say 11, I mean, this just sounds like a similar job. Like, even though I might be like, hey, babe, I'm going to go out and shoot till 5, there's things that go wrong. You need another interview, or you get an interview with another, maybe a player or something that you didn't think you were going to get. Like, things change so much that you just have to find a person that's adjustable,
And
because
is
it's.
like, go you.
Yeah. Yeah, go you. Like, get your stuff done. Like, oh, you got that? Like you need that person that's like, you took longer, so obviously, like, like your thing went good, or maybe it didn't, but like either way, they're like supportive of you.
Yeah.
They're like, yo, I know whatever you're doing, it's important that you're out later than normal,
Yeah, and here's like what I'll also touch upon is I'm extremely, extremely close with my family. I'm Greek, and Greeks are just like, we just love to have a good time and just love the shit out of each other. And I almost get my sense of support and my sense of love from them. And that's been the hardest part is all my family is back in Michigan and Illinois. My brother's in Michigan, my aunts, uncles, and cousins are in Michigan, my mom and dad are in Illinois, and Andrea's out on this island in Utah. And it's tough. Like, man, I would just love to go hang out with everyone and be together with all of them, but this is all about my next step. And
Yeah.
should I sit here and be like, oh, I need to be with family more? Sure. But man, I spent so much time with my family for the first 18, 19 years. Or 21, 22. I didn't come out to Pocatello until 23. So I can't really say like I'm missing, because now when I see them, it makes it like so much sweeter.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I miss family, but they have the means to come out and visit me, not during quarantine, but like it's all possible to make it work if you really, really want to. So that's where I'm at on all that.
Heck yeah. No, you're grinding, you're working hard. I absolutely admire that you're just to be able to get up and move and chase your dreams no matter where it may be. That takes strength, a lot of it.
Yeah, it was weird. Honestly, the hardest part of it all was moving to Pocatello, because at least Salt Lake City is a city, and there's a lot of people here, and there's a lot going on, and there's stuff happening and places for me to go. But Pocatello is a small town.
It very much is. It's
people,
like, what do you want to do? Do you want to go to X bar or Y bar?
Or like what is the place with the mini golf, Odyssey, or
Outer Limits.
Yes. Like big Outer Limits girl, or big tough guys bowling lanes girl, and I befriended Evan at Hooligans because that's where you go. And I have that small town stuff, but man, when I first got there, it was like, okay, who is this chick? Because everybody in Pocatello was either born there, raised a family there, went to school there, somehow, some way from the area. And then you plop, Andrea from Illinois, who's not LDS, in a community, and it was tough. It was tough for me to essentially build viewers, build a fan base, or build just supporters, because they were like, well, why would we listen to her? We don't know her. And I spent the first 6 months very like very like, here's what's happening, here's what's going on, Idaho State won, back to you. And then after 6 months, people started to, okay, she knows her stuff, we like her. Then finally around the year mark, I started to throw my personality into it, because I was like, okay, now they like me. Now let me try being Andrea a little bit more. I never was fake, but I was held back because I was placed in a community that was set in its ways, and I was very small. I was a big fish in a small place. How was she going to handle herself? So that was really tough for me. But it made me into exactly what I am now, which is just like, I can almost deal with any personality now, because I was put in a world that I knew nothing about.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I was able to make it work. And I don't even want to sit here and pat myself on the back all like this whole interview, because it's not even like, I've struggled, and I lost my first TV job, and I thought maybe I shouldn't be in this anymore. And it's not supposed to be a straight journey. Like, and it's not supposed to be easy, and earning your stripes is totally necessary. And now I can look back, and I mean, the Idaho State head football coach is one of my best friends, like him and his wife, and like even the whole coaching staff. Like, I love Idaho State football, and basketball is great too, but I was a part of the Bill Evans era. I was at the end of the Ryan Looney era. But Rob Fennessy and his coaching staff, like, those are my guys. And
that's awesome.
And Idaho State this last year played Utah, and BYU and Weber State all on the road. And those are teams that I cover. So I got to go to those games early and be like, what's up, guys? And like say what's up to the offensive line coach and say what's up to Ross Cunningham, the super fan. Shout out Ross. And things like that. Things like that is that's what I live for. And you know, I always will be a fan of Idaho State Bengals no matter where I go because it made me into what I am. So
yeah, I appreciate that. The journey is never straight, but the fact that you were able to curve it and navigate it and just you just got to choose what your best decision is. And like you said, it looks like you're moving step by step by step, and it's always, you know, taking this step to see where the next one will go, you know, and I feel like you navigated that pretty well.
Thanks. I'm trying. I don't know. I'm hard on myself. I'm hard on myself sometimes because I'm like, man, I should be somewhere else.
Yeah.
But then like I remember getting the job in Salt Lake and being like, whoa, this is all I've ever worked for. And then I get to Salt Lake and I'm like, okay, well, I got to get somewhere else. And sometimes I'm like, okay, Andrea, like, let's enjoy what's going on. Because I remember being in Pocatello and being like, how am I going to, what's next? What's next? And
yeah.
Sometimes we need to just like look at what's in front of us and enjoy the moment too.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm working on that because I can't put to bed my brain that's always like, what's next? But I'm working on enjoying what's in the moment and hopefully naturally it'll come.
It will. Sounds like you're doing good. Just keep on trucking, as us Idahoans say, you know.
Hey, I am a honorary Idahoan. I'm not from Idaho, but man, that place, I was there for 2 full years and I embraced it more than Idahoans do. Like, I was a part of everything. I went to the Eastern Idaho State Fair and like I wanted to go back this year because I was like, oh, Eastern Idaho State Fair is so fun. And I remember going to the state fair in Blackfoot and someone being like, oh, you're Andrea. And I remember being like, this is my first time ever being recognized. Like, this is amazing. like that's awesome. So I miss it, but I don't, it was just going to put me on hold if I stayed there.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference is I appreciate it. I miss it. Thank you so much. Girls gotta go.
Yeah, keep grinding. You know, I love it. Well, Andrea, I have to thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your knowledge of a sharing your knowledge of a reporter and an anchor and just kind of getting the insight of all that. I know it can be tough. It's crazy to follow dreams. It's hard to follow dreams, and you definitely can be hard on yourself by doing so, but I just love and appreciate that you're trying to kind of balance that out because you want to be hard, you want to grind, you want to be the best you, but at the same time, you got to enjoy the moments.
Yeah, thanks, man. And I'm going to compliment you back. This is, you've made this really comfortable. I usually am kind of like, here's my answer. Now it's your turn to talk. And I got on my soapbox there because I felt good. And what you've got going here is pretty cool. I checked out your Instagram and you've got a lot of different guests across the board. And that's exactly how you get going and get started. So you're in my Pocatello stage of podcasting, or maybe maybe even you're stepping out of it, but that's exactly what you need to do. So hats off to you too, man.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Andrea. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Peace out.